And welcome back, and we are moving into our final segment for today as we find out more about a recently launched book, The Healing Circle. And we have with us two of the authors behind the book. We have Myrna Manzanares and Azizi Hoy, and we have representing the Institute for Social and Cultural Research from Niche, Celine Solis. She's a senior researcher and education officer. Good morning and welcome.
Morning. You're very welcome. And she's also the producer of the book.
Well, I was going to get to that, don't worry. So I want to say, first of all, congratulations, ladies, on this publication. And let's just jump right in and find out where this idea came from.
I'll let Azizi talk.
Okay, so before this ever happened, me and Miss Myrna, we wrote our own poems. We have never met before getting together to work with these poems. So when we did come together, which was with the help of Mr. Nigel Encalada, who saw some of my poems and said he'd want me to meet Miss Myrna. So we sat down at night and we just started presenting each other our poems, reciting it with all the expressions, all the emotions, which made the night fun. And that's when we realized that we do have very similar poetry to each other's, and that most of them have the same meaning, they come with the same ideas, and so we decided that it would be a good idea.
Different writing styles.
Different writing styles. So
why not telling how I meet you the first time?
Well, I wanted to get to that because Azizi, obviously, you are the younger portion of the intergenerational poems. And I'm saying the younger and the more experienced. That's all I'm saying.
That's
today.
right. Thank you, Marlene.
A lot of people have known Miss Myrna's work, and we've had previous recent conversations with you about your venture into poetry. So when Mr. Encalada told you about Miss Myrna, what did you know about her so far, and what was the experience like of sitting down with another poet who had such similarities with you?
I remember going to the Belize one night and there was a presentation. I don't remember what the presentation was, but Miss Myrna was there and she was the one presenting. She was doing like one of her storytelling in her cultural outfit and singing a song. And it was very entertaining, and the way she brought out or how she presented herself was very well put, and it kept the reader's attention, it captured your attention. And then I think it was that night where Miss Myrna and my mom talked for the first time. Well, my mom knew her already because she taught my mom, and then she asked about me, and my mom said that I was a writer, and that's when she clicked that she's also a writer, and she became interested as well.
And so, Miss Myrna, let's hear your version of events.
Well, the thing is that when I met her, after I spoke to her mom and everything.
Yeah.
And we sat down, and in my mind it was, damn. And that's one of the poems in my
But it's not about me.
No, it's not about her.
Yeah.
But it's called Damn, because the way that she wrote well, she wasn't 17 then, she was about 15, no?
Yeah.
For a 15-year-old, and I thought, my goodness, at the level that she's at and the level of her poetry, it was like, make me feel like, boy, I got competition right here, right? So I wanted to make sure that the competition merged. So what really, I was very much impressed, and I thought, gosh, it would be really nice to see what can happen. And I like the whole idea of intergenerational poetry, because that's what it is, intergenerational, because we do not see what the things that older people today, or most of our young people, they are what people think.
Yeah.
And they don't see that, right? And I really
appreciate the values
appreciate
that
it.
you grew up with are different from the exposure and values that our younger generation have.
Exactly.
And I just want to take a moment to say, because we've been having this conversation so often now, it's intergenerational and intercultural.
Right.
So,
With a different culture?
We're going down this road again, but we had that conversation several times in previous shows. But let me get Celine in here, and obviously that is definitely an added bonus, right?
Of course. That's really one of the perspectives we were looking to highlight, coming from an institutional point of view, right? We really piggybacked on this idea that the both of them have on their artistry, because one, it's really important for us to create cultural and artistic opportunities for people to express themselves through whatever form that they feel comfortable expressing themselves in, right, at Niche. So what we notice is that the literary arts is often shoved aside or maybe dimmed in the light of other performing arts. But it's really important that we give that opportunity both to older people and younger people to express themselves through that means, because really our identities, our cultures, our values, our entire way of being is reflected, and we have documentation of that, of what that is like for any given generation. So that's one perspective we were coming from. A second would be to provide opportunities for young people to express themselves. That's really important. I mean, a lot of people approach me and they ask, wow, we didn't realize there are young people interested in culture and the arts and history. They still consider me young. I'm quite content about that. And they are, we just don't give them the opportunities to express that, right? And there's so many literary movements going on across the country right now. You have Bafu Magazine that operates on an online platform. You have 501 Spoken Word 501. You have Spooners that has open mic nights for poetry. You have the BBIA, the Belize Book Industry Association, that continuously advocates for the development of the literary arts and the book industry in Belize, particularly now through the Literary Prize, the Belize Literary Prize, the deadline for which is approaching, by the way. Please visit the Niche or the BBIA Facebook page to check that out. But then there's also this intergenerational component, and that's something, and intercultural, as you stressed, which is something that we really piggybacked on, because at Niche we've been trying to promote this consistent dialogue across cultures, across generations, to ensure that our ideas are shared consistently across our society. You know, the old, I will say old, the old teach the young learn from the old, but the old can also learn from the young. And it's in that consistent exchange and dialogue that our cultures get transformed, transferred, they evolve, and that's the way that it stays vibrant, especially in today's times when, you know, the intercultural issue does come up quite often. This cross-cultural collaboration and supports, and just intergenerational as well. You know, there's this need for constant dialogue and constant connection between, so that we can better understand each other.
I was just going to say that it's an understanding that has to be developed about whether it's a different culture, different age group, even rural-urban settings, because we don't live in a compartmentalized society. You know, you don't have teenagers in one area and 40-year-olds in another, and it's not that you have mestizo in one area and Creole in another. We have to interact. And there is a difference in our own individual experiences, whether cultural or based on the generation that we were raised in, or urban or rural, as I was saying before. So, you know, and that's what I find so interesting about this particular publication, because it should have been, I'm assuming here, an eye-opening experience for similarities and major differences. So it's called the Healing Circle, and I want to talk about that exchange of poetry and the elimination process of what's included in the book, and what you really learned about what is the same about a Belizean teenager and a Belizean more experienced citizen.
Tell you to watch your mouth.
What? You're real up with me. But yeah, so, you know, what are the similarities about Belizeans of different generations, and what are some of the marked differences? Let's have Azizi here jump in.
Okay, well, it's visible in the writing. Like Miss Myrna has always said, she's a little bit more experienced, more mature. So that would be her sense of writing, especially because there are a poem in there. Well, the theme of the poem is based on sexual abuse, right? So we both write on it, but you can see the difference coming from a younger person and an older person like Miss Myrna, who she goes more in depth, and she tells you more of what's going on than what I would. I'd say it, but leave it on the surface for you to think about it. Yeah. And Miss Myrna will outrightly tell you what's happening in the poem, which would be one of the major differences. But the similarity is that we still have the same priority, and we're like, for example, when it comes to our country, because there's a lot of poems on patriotism and what we feel needs to happen for our country, we both are out there saying that this needs to happen and that our people need to come together and we need to take an action. And that's where we have a very impactful comparison between me and her. So I think that would be the similarities and differences.
Now, why the decision to focus specifically on sexual violence against women? Or sexual violence, it's not just against women, right? Is
Well,
it
in
just
this
women?
case-
This case, yeah.
Okay, so why the decision to focus on sexual violence against women?
For me, I'm a counselor.
Yeah.
And so I get all of these things, right? And my first book has on sexual violence, but this time I focus on sexual violence because of what was happening with younger and younger children. You know, it happens with the elderly, but with younger and younger children, and I have an issue with that. I really, really do, because I have to see the pain that these kids come to me with. They don't tell their mothers, and if they tell their mothers don't believe them, and they have to be like walking around and skirting around. That should not happen to our children. It should not happen to our children, and children should know I don't accept it. But the fear is there that they are going to be hurt.
Yeah.
Okay? And in my poem, this guy started with this little girl from she was 5. You understand me? And then the fear comes up till she finally raped her. And she told the mom, and the mom don't believe. And this is what women have to understand. Yes, the man is out there. Yes, we love them. We love them to do all kinds of things to us, but when it comes to our children, we put them first. They have to understand that, and I have an issue because I have to deal with it. These people come to me and they tell me things, and I can't believe some of the things that they tell me that happen within our Belizean home. So women, look after your children, and children, don't be afraid to talk. If you can't talk to your mother, talk to somebody else.
Yeah. Now, Azizi, you've been on the show. You performed one of your poems before, or you've recited one of your poems before. Tell us about your perspective on sexual violence against women and what angle you decided to take in the book.
Similarly, it was based because I was hearing so much, like you watch the TV and you really do hear about these young girls being raped, but this is till they convict the father. So this is years after they've been enduring this pain and suffering. So I decided to write about it, but put myself in the person's shoes. So that it would be different, and other people wouldn't think I'm just writing about someone. They'd be able to hold on or latch on to my poem, and especially if they're going through it. In the poem, in the book, the name of this poem is called Hiding Beneath the Shadows, which means that she's been hiding. Well, she's been trying to tell her mom about this for years, but again, her mom never listened to her. So it's like she's been hiding from everyone, from the world, because she feels ashamed of this. But the poem also offers hope that although she's been going through this, at the end she realizes that she needs to stand up for herself and she needs to take an action if no one else will. And it still shows you the suffering at the end, because even though the father is put in jail, it's not like it's over for her, the suffering. Like there's still those memories that come back that you can't take away what you've done to her.
I think that's one of the things that makes the title of the collection so appropriate and even timely, because the themes, they reflect on physical healing, disease, and sickness. There's a poem dedicated to cancer, to somebody who is very close to Azizi. But then there's also this psychological and national healing, this need for a national healing that seems to be very current, seems to be very appropriate right now. And those are some of the things that they're reflecting on.
Yeah.
And that's really important, because we've talked about this intergenerational perspective, we've spoken about this intercultural perspective, but then there's also the fact that they're both women reflecting on issues that matter to women in our society today. So,
You know, when you talk about the society, there's one issue that we see, and I know that we have struggled with, and that is victim blaming. And we see it so often in the media. You put out the story, and the biggest question is, well, why is the girl there, and why wasn't she home, and why did she go to his house, why did she talk to him, why did she take so long to come out and report? It's never why did he do that, it's always why did she do it.
Exactly.
Were you able to perhaps touch on this topic in the book itself, and perhaps be the wake-up call for a society that we're really focused on the wrong person in this equation?
I didn't actually focus on the perpetrator, but in my book, it shows you definitively that he was a how you say the word? perpetrator.
Perpetrator.
Because in it, we focus on him at 5 years old, what he did to the child. At 8 years old, he put his hand in the child. At when he raped her. Do you understand me? So throughout the whole book, you're pointing at that guy. He's doing all of these things. And so he's standing alone. He's no shadow or nothing. He did it. 5 years old. What the hell you're going to do with a 5-year-old? You know?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
What you're going to do with an 8-year-old, you put your finger in an 8-year-old. That hurts. Even with the Vaseline, it says. Then she was raped. Always it's focusing that guy, looking at from his perspective to a child.
Yeah.
So immediately you see him.
Yeah.
It also gives the person who's in that experience a voice. A lot of the times that's the issue. There's all this talk around. There's never the actual discussion of the issue at hand.
Yeah.
And so what a lot of these poems do, especially the more difficult poems, is giving that experience or that person, that individual, a voice to recount their side of the story, how it made them feel, and kind of switching the camera for once. And that's part of the importance of this.
So what's been the response since you first launched the book?
What is the what?
The response. Yeah. Have you heard from other victims, perhaps, because obviously they would be the ones, or people in their response to the pieces that you've put together?
Well, there's been a lot of people trying to get to us to try to get the book, and once they do read it, because they try to read the entire book before they get to me and Miss Myrna, and they like to share how it's a very beautiful book because it's unique about it's Miss Myrna's opinion than mine, and they're two different perspectives, but how two of them match up for them, it still is a very beautiful thing, especially coming from two different generations.
Yeah.
And also they like it because it's several issues that we need to talk about in our country, social issues and about our country, and they like how it's us trying to get out there and make a difference, because this book is about making a difference, as the name implies, the Healing Circle.
Yeah, and there's a poem in there that's called Healing Circle.
Well, I was about to say that we can't have poets on set if we're not going to have a little bit of reading live on air. So let's grab one excerpt of your favorite piece, or a piece that, I won't commit you to a favorite piece, but a piece that you would like to share with the public, and get into that. So Miss Myrna, I saw you already selected yours, and you were trying to put it off on Azizi, and Azizi said, no, you're going to do it. I see everything, man. I don't need the cameras.
She's the young one. But besides it, I just want to say real quickly, I have a poem in there about Bert Tucker. We know who Bert Tucker is. Mr. Peters, Leela Vernon, and H.C. Fairweather. These are important characters within our history, so it's written down. But the one that I like to deal with, because I feel strongly about that. You start or it, because I can't find anything now.
Oh, I just okay. The name of my one is United for a Better Belize. Standing at a measure of 5 feet tall, here I am to tell you that we are subconsciously building a wall. We have our brains buried in the grounds of safety and our pride soaring through the sky of lies. Yet we walk on 2 feet and bow at the call of defeat. The creation we made is falling slowly, but do we care, or do we hide in our shells because of fear? We have not yet fully endured the suffering and pain, but we make no effort to stop, reminisce, consider, and reflect, simply because we are ashamed. Ashamed? Ashamed. And then I ponder, is patriotism necessary, or do we wear the red, white, and blue as simply a fashion accessory? Then why scream? Why shout? Why fall on our knees, proclaiming that this is the land of the free, when we make no effort to contribute to the wellness of Belize?
Wow.
And that's just an excerpt.
And that's a 17-year-old.
I think perhaps that's what we need on the Independence Day ceremony. That's the poem you should recite. I'm requesting. I don't have any clout there, but maybe you can get it
I'll
as
put in a
niche.
few calls.
Go ahead, Ms. Myrna.
Well, mine, I just want to say one thing on terms, I have one called A Nation's Glory, and it just backs up a lot of what she's saying. But the one that I am very close to, when I wrote that, I was angry. And I said this at the launch. I was very angry, and you will understand why I was angry. It says, it is called from the bowels of my soul. I listened to the radio, the television, I read the papers, and all I hear is bitch, bitch, more bitch. What do I see? Young black men killing each other off for reasons they may not decipher. It may be a plot to wipe them out, to make way for ones deemed more worthy. Who seems to care? That makes me wonder. I listen to the radio, the television, and what do I hear? Blame, blame, and more blame. What do I see? Police taking children to jail, parents sending their children to beg, children selling on the streets, children becoming infected with all the worldly ills, creating rampant psychological damage, but only a few seem to care. That makes me wonder. You understand
All
me?
right. So I guess the number one question is, where did we get this book?
I'll let them answer.
At the moment, you can get it from me, Azizi Hoy, so on 59 Albert Street, Juanita's Outlet. Also, well, we're trying to get it into the different bookstores right now. That's our main, what we're trying to get to do this week. And Miss Myrna?
Yes. Right now we have the books at the National Creole Council, which is right in front of Chongsan on Kelly Street. Or you can get it from me, but of course, you have to run after me.
Have to find you first.
They will also be made available at the Museum of Belize. Ms.
Yeah, the
Myrna has
Museum
made
of
arrangements
Belize.
for that. And as Azizi has mentioned, they've been approached by the Book Center, by Angelus Press with interest. So it's just about kind of finalizing that process and getting it into the stores.
It's very recently launched, and I want to say thank you for stopping in and sharing these stories. It's one I love the idea of having different artists come together. That's what we just saw just now with Virgil Bambra, who think metal and reggae and rap together. But art can unite, and that's what we are seeing. And I think while different voices with different perspectives, it's amazing to hear the message be the same. So.
And that is true, because I have a poem in there for the artists who, all of them, the musicians and stuff, we had a workshop for them. But then you hear, oh, I can't work with that one. Oh, I like her better than one. And all of these different perspectives. And I got so angry. My team is a lot of anger. I wrote about them. They were, oh, I can't work with that one, or I can't work with that one, and what have you. And so I wrote a poem, and I don't know if they disseminate, but it's in this book, so if you don't want to see, when I hear about it myself. But I saw them actually come together, cutting the music thing together and all of that. So I'm happy that happened, but
well, congratulations to you two on the Healing Circle, and for your efforts, Selene, as well.
Minor.
The intergenerational, intercultural collection of poems by Belizean poets called The Healing Circle. Be sure to get your book. It's at Juanita's, it's at Creole Council, it will be at Museum of Belize, and eventually you'll see it in some of the other regular outlets. But thank you, ladies, for stopping in and for sharing pieces of your work. Congratulations.
Thank you, Marlene, for always being there. You're there by yourself today. But you're still there.
All right, thank you.
You're
We're going to
welcome.
go ahead now and take our final break, and when we come back, we'll have our wrap-up, so stay tuned.